My name is Terry. This is an experiment in self-improvement. I go into this entire endeavor cognizant of the fact that I'm not perfect. Nobody is. But I think that one of the key things that make us human is the desire and the willingness, when in the proper state of mind, to strive to be better versions of ourselves. So with that in mind, I decided that for Lent, which I've not ever observed in my entire life, in the 29 years I've been alive, I've decided that for Lent, I'm going to give up something that everyone does and that I'd like to do less of, which is lying. And I'd like to document this 40-day endeavor through vlogging, which I've never done before and will probably be monstrously bad at the beginning, especially since Best Buy, I went to go buy a laptop today because I own a 2008 MacBook and the camera doesn't work and the number 3 doesn't work and the number 0 doesn't work, and it's impossible to use. Essentially, I just sort of use it for watching DVDs because I don't have a DVD player that works. Anyway, that's besides the point. I went to Best Buy to get a laptop hoping that I would have one for today. And I got there, I got the financing, I got my laptop, and then I was like, where's the bag? And they said, we have to configure it, come back tomorrow. So this video is going to be done a la Samsung S7. So apologies for the quality of sound and video, whatever. So I have lied a lot in my life. I've lied for no reason, like for things that didn't matter. I've lied to get out of tricky or precarious situations. I've lied to spare people's feelings. I've lied to assuage my own guilt. And every time I did that, it started a cascade of events that led me to either a place of anger or a place of depression. And I'm trying to find the root of all of the bad things that have happened to me. And recently I went through a whole lot of changes, and it's been really intense. I pretty much was what you would call a social justice warrior. And over the past 3 months, I would say, I have completely flipped the switch. And I mean, obviously I have primarily Jordan Peterson to thank for that. Not because of the controversy surrounding him, but because I was exposed to him through the Art of Manliness podcast, which I've been listening to religiously for about 2 years. Great podcast. Brett McKay is a very, very good interviewer, and he has such interesting people on his show. So people like Ed Lattimore and Jordan Peterson are who I was turned to through Brett McKay. So through Jordan Peterson, I latched onto his idea of understanding the world through myth and through stories. And this was something that resonated with me since I had read The Women Who Run with the Wolves. It's a great book. I can't think of the author's name right now, but if you just look it up, it's really good. And through that exposure, I just wanted to know more about him. I looked up his book list on his website. I read Ordinary Men. I read Man in Search of a Soul. I read Man's Search for Meaning. No. I didn't read Man in Search of a Soul. That was a lie. Lie number 1. it was Man's Search for Meaning that I read. So it was basically like ordinary men, the Nazis were just men, and then Man's Search for Meaning, a firsthand account of being a in a concentration camp. So from that experience, I had this mind blown, like this just, I don't want to say the F word, but I had this mind F, and I completely changed the way that I looked at humans. You know, like when I was a social justice warrior, anything that wasn't in line with the very narrow sort of viewpoints, you know, like trans women are women, this is that, Black people are always being the targets of racism, Black Lives Matter is an organization that's necessary. I mean, like the list goes on, and there's very specific talking points for each of them. And it was just a complete mind fuck. I ended up saying it anyway. To think of people as not just black and white and, you know, Nazi and I guess all the good people, because Nazi is the term of choice for the term of the choice of ad hominem, let's say, that and now I'm on the receiving end of these days. You know, there's a host of there's a whole lot of them. There's bigots, there's transphobe, Islamophobe, alt-right, Nazi, racist. I mean, they come up with all these terms to completely other the person who's talking about just very nuanced situations and things that require nuanced opinions. You know, just it just honestly, it blew my mind to see the response that Jordan Peterson got from the trans activists. And it was through there that I ended up getting more in depth, and I saw the Red Pill by Cassie J, and I started looking into men's rights activism. I started looking at feminism, not as what I had understood it to be through like a dictionary definition, but as an actual movement and in practice, what was actually happening. And there was this like discord between what was written and what was being done. And I just could not deal. And the final straw for me, with a lot of the friends that I had fostered through years of just meshing with them through this synchronicity of opinion, I had, you know, blocked and deleted a whole bunch of conservative people over the years, some of whom I've apologized to now, but some of whom I will have to apologize in person if I ever get the chance to. But I had this entire online world that was social justice. And the minute that I decided that I broke the minute that I broke ranks, I was completely cast out in so many ways. You can't get invited to certain things because, you know, you might offend someone who has a lived experience that, you know, is so difficult that your ideas might be problematic, and the problems will lead them to potential suicidality or I have no idea how the logic works anymore. When I was in it, it was simple, but now that I'm out of it, I feel like I have no idea what's going on. So there was that. The whole, I would say, red pilling experience has been especially difficult for me because I'm not only maligned in my community, which is the Black community, for breaking ranks, I'm also completely dehumanized because of the color of my skin. It's not dark enough to be, you know, a real Black person, but it's dark enough to be called an Uncle Tom or a coon or a house snigger or whatever, you know? So it's been a really interesting switch over. And it's really hard to try and explain to people where they're going wrong. And my last post before I deleted my Facebook, which I know it's not a huge deal. It's like, oh, Facebook, you deleted it. My last post was that I would call out the next person who used the terms white privilege and mansplaining for being racist and sexist, respectively. And that ended it for me and a couple of family members, and having arguments about, of course, systemic racism exists. Look at this. And then you give your experience and say, well, look, I'm pretty successful at what I do. I've never had any problems because of my race. No, it's because you're not black enough that you haven't had any problems. Or you're not the full measure of human experience. The lived experience only counts if it's the lived experience that fits the narrative. And coming to that realization made me really examine what I believed was true and what is actually true. How many lies did I tell myself to fit into that box? How many lies did I tell other people? How much misinformation did I pass around? How much rhetoric, empty rhetoric, did I spout to further this movement? This weird, like, toxic fusion of individualism and collectivism. Like, it doesn't make any sense. You're either an individual or you're part of a collective. And I know that it's not exactly a nuanced way of looking at it, but it got me thinking. And now that I'm looking at myth and I'm looking at my background and I'm trying to examine where I split, where I stopped being true to myself, where I stopped walking in the path of truth, I'm looking to my upbringing in Catholicism, and I'm trying this experiment for Lent to see what will happen if I continue and up the ante for my idea of not lying, of just speaking truth, of being honest with not only everyone around me, but with myself, more importantly. So, just like being able to admit I'm a fat person and saying, hey, that's not a cool thing, and knowing that I need to make changes to fix that. And I think that having this level of accountability, of personal responsibility, I think that it's something that is so necessary right now. And all of these thinkers, this sort of intellectual revolution that's happening with Dave Rubin and even Ben Shapiro and with Joe Rogan, Peterson, the Weinstein brothers, I'm just following everything that they're saying, and I'm following their stories in complete awe of their bravery. And I really just want to add a voice of someone who is, I guess, a minority in more ways than one, a female black person. But I mean, those are the least interesting things about me, and I personally want to begin this whole endeavor, these 40 days of truth, with an honest heart to heart with whoever decides to watch, and I feel like, the word feelings. I feel like this is probably the most myself that I've been in a long time. And it feels really good to be. It just feels really good to be. And I'm appreciative of anyone who's watching, and I'm hoping that these next 40 days will really yield something great. And I'm hoping that the results of my quest for truth, external and internal, has some positive impact on myself and my immediate world. I mean, I'm just one person, but if if being truthful with one person apart from myself can make the world a better place, and just this one part of the globe, then I think that I've done a pretty good job. Um, so once I get my laptop, curse you, Best Buy, I'll start doing everything for real, for real. So thanks for watching.